So I've been seeing everything that's been going on around the country, especially the clashes between the police and the protesters, this whole big thing that's going on about race on social media and everything. And I just want to say that, like, I am sick of hearing people promoting hate, promoting division, and promoting an agenda that doesn't even guarantee a better future, that does not guarantee change. There's this agenda of just spreading pain and spreading hatred amongst two groups of people. And I totally do not agree with that. So in this video, I have a message for white people and I have a message for black people. And listen carefully, because we need both of you. To you white people, you need black people. To you black people, you need white people. And that's what I'll be talking about. This needs to be said. So let's get to it. Right off the bat, I am addressing white America. You have to be able to recognize that black people are hurt. They're hurt, man. Like, you don't understand how this pain runs deep. And it's not your fault that you don't understand. You have been bombarded with narratives for generations, for almost 200 years. You have been kept from seeing the truth that black people have been through. Now, first and foremost, you have to acknowledge slavery was completely fucked up. You have to recognize that racism was present. The ignorance of one people to capture another people and take the human right away is wrong. I don't care how you put it. That is absolutely wrong. You wouldn't like it if somebody came into your home, took your kids, and took the rights away and made them property. You would never let it slide for your kids. So don't try to make it seem like it's okay when it's happening to someone that is different than you, just because it's not happening in your own home. We are all human. That is fucked up. That is not a way to treat a human being. But you also have to recognize that this started way back. I do understand that there was slavery in Africa. This has happened in different parts of the world. Do your research, you will see slavery wasn't only about black people and white people. Slavery happened in Africa. Our own people will keep each other slaves. Whenever they go to war, the victor will take the losers as captives and slaves. And those were the ones sold into slavery until it became this old shebang that turned into this humanity hate crime. But you also have to recognize that that was completely messed up. And if we are talking about the United States being united, that means all people who have citizenship in this country should be of equal value. That means that the Constitution that was written for white men who own property was not equal. That's something that we have to get off the bat. It was not equal. And this kept going for 200 years. It's obvious the descendants of the people who had the power and the money would benefit from a system that was designed to empower the people that had the money and the power. You may not know about why they did what they did. You may not be responsible for their racism. You may not be responsible for their ignorance, which led them to treat people of a certain ethnicity as property and not as human, and excluded them from the benefits that came from having the Constitution. You may not know anything about that, but that does not mean that you're not benefiting from that system. Today in 2020, you have to understand that the America that is so successful, the majority of the wealth is to the descendants of the ones that created the Constitution, predominantly white. Some black people are rich too, I get that, but the majority of people are predominantly white. And I get where you're coming from. You're probably telling me, despite everything you're saying, I work hard to have my business, I work hard to have my job, I work hard to provide for my family. Every single day I wake up and I go and grind. True, 100%, I give you credit for that. Your grind is in a system that is fertile for you because of the way you look. Not because you decided to. I know you have nothing to do with that, but your ancestors made it that way. So that because of the way you look, when you go out in the morning and grind and put in work, you have more resources. You have a better advantage of making more money than a black person would. And this has been this way for 200 years. So you can understand, if America became this prosperous, so did the inequality. Just as much as the prosperity grew in America, so did the inequality also grow. But it is not as traumatic for you as it is for the descendants of slaves who were denied freedom, rights, and equality. That's something that you may be born in a world where you have been secluded. The community that you grow up with are just like you. You're not surrounded, you're not in the black communities. You don't understand what black people have to go through. Your normal is in your community. So in your community, what has been passed down has been that black people are lazy, black people are thugs, black people are angry, black people will come after you, they'll rob you, they'll kill you. I understand that you may not be racist, but the people that you care about have been taught this. And the people before them were taught this, all the way back to the people who were actually racist when they created this constitution. You have to understand that. And I do know that there are some people that are innately racist on both sides, both on the black and the white side. And that's because of ignorance. And that's another discussion in itself. But you also have to understand that the reason why black people are in the streets marching and rioting, because they are feeling the pain of this inequality. You may not be aware of it, but you are benefiting from it by not saying something, by not acknowledging the inequality. You are benefiting from the system because it was designed to benefit the descendants of white men who own property. And if you are a descendant of a white man who used to own property while he was alive when the Constitution was made, your position in society is way better than the position of any one of the descendants of slaves when the Constitution was created. That is something that you need to gain awareness of. I understand it's not your fault that things are the way they are. And it's not right for black people in this generation to hurt the white community and to hurt the white businesses and to attack white people and to spread pain and hurt towards white people that have nothing to do with the laws that were passed 200 years ago. But here's the thing. You are still benefiting from the system because every single day to a black child growing up in the ghetto, he has to ask himself, why am I in this position? And everything traces back to the system and how it was designed. Now, if you say that you are not racist and you believe in the equality of all people and you believe in all people starting from the same platform, you have to be willing to relinquish the benefits of your system. Now you hear people saying defunding the police so they can reinvest that in the black communities. That makes sense. Like it may be unfair, but there's only so much money to go around in the United States. And if you really care about the equality in the lives of black people in the ghetto and black people that are struggling, black people that are facing violence at the hand of law enforcement, you will be willing to use the advantage, the head start that you have, not because you earned it, but because the system and the generations before you ensured that you had that advantage over someone of a different ethnicity than you. You have to be willing to relinquish that, understanding that it was done on unjust grounds. It was done on unequal grounds. That advantage, that gap grows as America continues to be prosperous. So does the black community continue to struggle. Yes, there are a few people that do make their way out, but their options are limited. The reason why black people are violent and thugs and fight the way they do is because they've been backed into a corner. And just like you care about feeding your family and surviving, so do black people. They want to make sure that they can survive. And if drugs is all they got, then they will sell drugs to feed their kids. If crime is all they got, then they will do crime to feed their kids. But you have to understand that they are trying to get out, but the system is not designed for them to prosper in. And if you are benefiting from that system, you have to ask yourself, are you really not racist if you're supporting a system that's racist? So I want you to understand how black people are hurt by these actions. You have to understand that the police was designed to oppress a certain people, and not because the people in it were racist, but because that's the system that they were born into. You have to understand that black people are here and they're not going anywhere. That this country has been built and is still being built with the contribution of the black community all the way back since slavery. Like this country would not be as great as it is if it didn't have the workforce and the work power that was the black community. But you also have to understand that given everything that they have provided for the development of this country, the recognition and the reward do not stand a chance. And you also have to realize that the system was designed out of ignorance. Ignorance that a certain people is less than another. That black people should be treated as property or anything. A system that divides people based on race. It sucks that we have to talk about black and white and all these things, but that's the America that was created. This America that you live in was created to see color, was created to see black people and treat them a certain kind of way, and to see white people and treat them a certain kind of way. This was taught in white families, in white homes, in white communities, in white institutions, in the white government. This was taught. That's what you need to realize. You need to gain awareness of this. It may not be something that you see every single day because the narrative that you are exposed to may be controlled. But the reality is that that is the truth. That black people have not been seen and have not been recognized as equals, free individuals who have the right to own property. That was never given to them, because that would have made a major difference as to how they live today. So it's easy to be like, oh yeah, they're in the ghettos, they're this and they're that, and black people are violent and black people are this. But you also have to do your homework. You have to go and find out, why do black people live in the ghettos? Why are black people so violent? What causes them to be so angry? You have to do your research and realize and understand that the very people that you love and your ancestors, and I know they're good people, but at some point they were people that were evil and had an evil agenda, and that agenda has caused pain to a whole race of people in this country. That kind of pain is not something that you can just ignore. I know you are not aware of it. I know you did not witness it. But that kind of pain is something that black people experience every day. It is something that is boiling within them. It is reminded of them every single day when they see the institution that is designed to protect them hurt them, while they abiding by the laws, and they are trying to stay out of crime. They are trying to do better for themselves and get educated and go to schools and make something better of themselves in this America where they have more opportunities. When they are trying to get away from what they were forced to be a part of, they are reminded of that pain when they see one of their own die by the end of the same system that they were looking to for protection. And especially when you can see the difference in colors. When the one with power is white and the one without is black. These events might happen, and I'm sure there are black people who kill white people in this country as well. But you have to understand how sensitive it is to black folks to see oppression, to feel oppressed, to feel unequal. You have to understand that this has been going on for 200 years. We have been conditioned to feel inferior for 200 years, and that is absolutely wrong. And if you believe that change needs to happen, then that change needs to happen by you also being willing to compromise and to let go of the advantage in order to bring black people up. You might have to lose a few to bring a few up, so that we can all be on the same ground. And to black people, I want to say this: we are too hurt and we are too angry, and we should be. Our pain is justified. What was done to our people and our ancestors was wrong. But you have to understand that when we hold on to this pain, we become our own demise. Burning buildings, hurting people, spreading hate just because someone is white, and you want to make them pay for the decisions that they have no idea or know nothing about. The generation of white folks that you see now are only products of a system that was established 200 years ago. It's not their fault that the country is the way it is. So you going after them and killing them and murdering them and burning the businesses down and being prejudiced towards them and spreading hate towards them, preventing them from being a part of who we are. He's not helping. You are no better than the people who try to oppress it. It's just that you are doing it in a mild way. It may not be as crazy as what we experience as slaves and as black people in the country, in this country, but you have to understand that you are not helping. If you want change, spreading hate, rage, anger, prejudice is not gonna bring us change. Burning their buildings, yes, rioting, looting, and doing all those things, that will get you the attention that you need, but it will also confirm that we are violent, and we are angry, and we are thugs, and we don't want peace. But we don't want to hurt nobody. We don't want to hurt people. We want change. We want to be seen. We want to be equal. And there are ways that we can go about it in a loving way. We can start educating ourselves. We can start doing our research. We can stop spreading hate in our own families, in our own communities. We can encourage people to come together. We can make the first step, because until we let go and forgive, we are doomed. Pain is like a cancer eating us from within. And if we hold on to this suffering and pain, there will be no tomorrow. What you're probably thinking, okay, they hurt us bad. They put us through this, and today I am born in a society where I have to suffer. My parents had to suffer, and all of this has been happening, and it's because of the government, it's because of the constitution, it's because of the people who have power and money who are predominantly white. You're probably thinking that they need to pay for that. But what would happen for 200 years? What if black people get 200 years and you get to do the exact same thing? That wouldn't change a thing. We would still be in the very same place, except the roles would be reversed. And if this is happening after what has been happening for 200 years, then that's 400 years of pain on both sides. Then everybody is hurt and nothing changes. The separation will continue to grow and will never come together. We have to understand that what happened, happened. It is absolutely terrible. It is atrocious. But we have to be willing to forgive. We have to be willing to let go. We have to understand that the people who hurt our ancestors were racist, but racism is not because of color. Racism is not because a white person hates a black person because of the way they look. We have people of our own color that are prejudiced to our own people and prejudiced towards white people. Because it's ignorance, it's the inability for us as people to understand that beyond color, beyond race, beyond everything that we see in this world, there is a human being sitting there. And they want to protect their families, and they want to take care of their families just as much as we want to do it. And it's not their fault that the system is the way they are. This was done years ago. But times have changed. Times have changed. We have more opportunities to get educated. We have more opportunities to acquire scholarships. We have more opportunities to acquire money. Whether it is through athletics, rapping, or any other means that we have been able to create on our own. Like, these may not be for every single person, but in today's society, we have the freedom that our ancestors didn't have, the freedom to acquire knowledge. We have the freedom to build a better community for ourselves. We have the freedom to create safer neighborhoods. We have the freedom to come together, not just as black people, but as people. Because in order to make this country equal, it's gonna take both sides. It's gonna take black people coming together with white people. You can't do it on your own as black people. We don't have the resources nor the power. We can fight for it, and that's good. Let's continue to do that. Let's continue to point out the inequality. But we also have to recognize that how long are we going to stand and mourn? How long are we going to stand and do nothing? And by doing nothing, I don't mean going out there and burning people's houses and businesses down and hurting people because of the way they look. But how long are you going to sit home and not read and not educate yourself on your past and your history, and not educate yourself on how this government and this system works, so that you can find the loopholes in it and start changing things? Why don't you educate yourself to become the next senators, become the next people going into office? You get voted for by your community, and you come from the community, and you start bringing educated change. Why not empower your youngsters to pick up a book and not a gun? Why not empower your youngsters to walk into a library and not a strip club? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but you gotta balance it out. It's not just enough to be successful as a rapper anymore. It's not just enough to be the next success story from the black community. We have to come together. We have to become an educated community. We have to start spreading love in our own communities. How do we expect other people to see the human and the good in us, to see our pain, to feel our pain, if we don't even love each other? If we are the first ones to kill each other? How do we want others to value our lives when we Don't make an effort to show the value of our lives, the value of our families, the value of our communities. Yes, let's honor those that have been killed. Respect to all of those that have been hurt through prejudice and racism. I respect all of them that lost their lives. And let's honor them by marching and honoring their names. But if we really want to change things, we have to change our minds and our hearts first. We have to be willing to let those that want to help us, regardless of whatever color they look like. I have seen it in my own community. We are so angry, we are so mad, and we're still holding on to that pain that even when people want to relate to us, we refuse to relate to them because of the way they look. And that makes us no better than the people that oppressed us because of the way we look. And if we want to be better, if we want to show change and we want to really show this country how to treat a black man, we first have to show that black men know how to treat all other men equally. If we can treat others equally, how do we expect people to see us equally? And it's completely unfair that we have to fight for this, but that's the world we live in. That's the way things have been right now, and things can be changed. A constitution can be rewritten or laws can be passed, and we continue to march for the equality. But we need both sides. America, we don't just need black America, we need a white America too. Because divided we fall, but together we conquer. And as black people, it is our own responsibility. We have to love ourselves enough to want better for ourselves. We have to love ourselves enough to stop the cycle of pain that our parents have been through, that our grandparents have been through. We have to love ourselves enough to say, fuck it. I'm not going to be one of these people that's going to hold on to anger, to pain, to suffering. I'm going to forgive. And I'm going to move forward. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. And a lot of people misunderstand. We've been taught that by forgiving, we are weak. By forgiving, we are put in a weaker position. But by forgiving, we're setting ourselves free. We're setting ourselves free to go a different path. To not repeat the same cycle, because that is the same cycle that has been repeating. The pain, the struggle, losing our brothers and sisters to gang and violence and all these things. Like, we want to make it, yes, but we also have to bring everybody else up with us. And how do we bring them up? We have to gain knowledge. Not only black knowledge, but knowledge of the country that we live in, knowledge of the system that we live in. Knowledge of how the legislative, administrative, and judicial system in America works. We need black people in the government. We need black people in the court system. We need black people in the police. We need black people on the boards of Fortune 500 companies. We need black people on the boards of universities and colleges. We need black people on the board of everything that runs this country. We have to add value to ourselves. We can be more than just successful athletes. We can be more than just successful movie stars. We can be more than just successful musicians. We can be everything else that exists, because now we do have that power. And if we educate ourselves and we gain knowledge and we gain more and more knowledge and we make it our own personal responsibility to empower our generations coming. The gun can only shoot, but the mind can create. And we have to feed it materials for it to create, and that material is knowledge. As black people, that's what we need to do. But we can't do that if we're holding on to the pain. And that pain makes it so that we can be manipulated by the media, by our own community leaders that have their own agendas that do not serve the change and the equality and the betterment of the communities and the people, by our own members in our communities, by our own families, by our own government. Why do you think this agenda keeps getting promoted? Why do you think the media continues to promote white and black? Because you separate people, divided, no one rises. And so long as we remain divided and we remain prejudiced, we will not be able to have enough momentum to bring change. But can you imagine if we all come together? Because the generation of white people that are here today have nothing to do with the way this country was made. Most of them want to be a part of our culture, but we're like, no, you want our culture, but you won't stand for us. We gotta be able to show them that regardless of how they were brought up and where they come from and what they were taught, and regardless of how we were brought up and where we come from and what we were taught, At the bottom of it, we're human beings. You see this in this generation, like this generation that is being born now and the generation that is in the younger years and going into the teenage years, this is the most united that races have been ever in America. They are born respecting differences, but loving each other. As children, as friends, black, white, but loving each other. Recognizing each other's differences, but loving each other equally. Let's not tarnish that. Let's not tarnish that by spreading hate. Let's not tarnish that by spreading division. But let's not tarnish that by only creating guilt. As though these are the people that enslaved our ancestors. They were not. They don't know about what happened. How can we educate them? We can educate them through love. By letting them in our communities. By showing them that we have families. We have fathers, mothers, and brothers just like they do. Letting them relate to us on a human level. You have to let people relate to you on a human level in this country if we want to come together and bring change. Because only when we come together can we bring change. Listen to me, black people, you need white people. And white people, you need black people. So I'm sick and tired of hearing people promoting hate and division. To white people, I ask you to gain awareness of the pain and the suffering that black people have been through. Don't be so quick to judge. Don't be so quick to call them thugs, and don't be so quick to hate them. Because they are also the way they are because of the system and the way ignorance and racism has hurt the community. And this is the result of it. And black people, don't be so quick to judge and to hate the white community. Don't just call them racist. Don't just call them crackers. Don't just call them all these things and call them privileged and all these things. Because it is not the individual fault. It is the fault of the system and the racist people, the people that were ignorant and racist, that had power and created a system that made things that way. We have to let each other in, people. We gotta let each other in because we are one people. Despite our differences, they matter and they are valuable and we recognize them. But beyond that, we gotta be able to love each other. Because just as us black people see our parents and love our parents, our brothers and sisters in our home, so do white people love their parents, their brothers and sisters in their home. Why can't we see that in each other? Spread love. Spread love. Educate through love. Black people, show who you are to them. Show who you are to white folks. And white folks, be willing to listen to black folks because they're not just thugs. They are people just like you. And they feel pain, suffering, love just like you do. And if you take the time to sit down and have this conversation and let each other in, this country will be unstoppable. But you have to understand that there are people that have an agenda to maintain people separate for selfish gain and for greed. We are all just puppets. This whole race thing is not about color. It's about ignorance. It's about ignorance. Ignorance creates divisions. And as people, we have to learn. We have to be willing to go beyond what we've been taught since we were kids. It sucks that this country teaches white folks to be prejudiced towards black people and it teaches black people to be prejudiced towards white folks. It sucks that it is that way, but we have to cross those lines. From both parties, we have to meet in the middle. We have to intermingle and share and show each other, despite the differences, we can come together. Like a rainbow. What makes a rainbow beautiful is the individual colors that it holds, coming together as one. They all together as one, yet maintaining the individual uniqueness. So black people, don't think because you're coming together with the white community, and white people don't think because you're coming together with the black community, you get lost and you get diluted. To the contrary, you become something even more beautiful, something even greater than it has ever been before, yet maintaining its differences. How beautiful would it be To have black people have white traditions in their home and white people have black traditions in their home, because we understand tradition is about a people and not a race. How beautiful would it be if we loved each other not because of the way we look, but because of the character of our own hearts? How beautiful would it be if we stood together against evil, whether it is black, white, brown, or whatever, however you put it? If we came together as people and stood against evil and promoted what is good for all people, how beautiful, how powerful would we be?